You can still go, even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range, cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity.
What's up, everybody, and good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of Sports Report. I am your host for the week 7, back and visiting and excited to get started. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get the crew in here. Of course, we got to get started with the president of pinfall. Talk about the blind leading the blind. Josie, what's up?
I mean, that's the best description I've ever heard.
I'm in a good mood, so I'm going to be nice tonight.
We are, you know, the better one. We're the band of misfit toys.
The band of misfit toys. The band of misfit sex toys that you find in a dumpster behind you. Up next, one of my best friends, and he knows a little bit about baseball, but he's a Yankees fan, so you really can't trust his opinion. Dan the Dick Warner, everybody.
Talk about misfit sex toys. This dude's in the clearance items. I hit it, and he's...
I'm like that weird one that you find in your stepdaughter's room. You know what I'm saying?
Dan the Dick Warner is that sexual. You see that video that's been going around about that girl that was watching her parents' house. She happened to find a box under the bed, and it was a toy. She's a little drunk, a little horny, so she cleans off the toy, uses it, gets herself off, looking at the bottom of the toy, and it says, "Clone a Willie."
Oh, shit.
Good God. Was her not her dad's?
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
And speaking of Clone a Willie, we've got
story?
the Blazing Asian with us tonight. She's disappointed more men than the Cowboys in the playoffs. Give it up for Erica, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. Where the OnlyFans page go?
You're legit just salty because my Dodgers whooped your fucking ass.
We get it. Brandon. You beat us like Urias beats his wife. I understand that. I have accepted the fact that our season is probably over, and it's okay. But we're just going to get ready for next year and enjoy the fact.
Hey, but here's the question: has Dan accepted the fact that the Yankees season is over?
I love how this is like a good thing for you guys that Tony and I's seasons are over. Do you know how much shit is going to be talked now? Like, we have nothing to lose. Like, you guys should be
zero fucks given.
Yeah, there's like nothing to lose now. This is not good for you guys. Like, it's just going to be a complete shit show.
At the end of the day, y'all all talk shit to me all the time, so I'm really not. I don't care. I'm used to it. Come on.
Oh my God, boo fucking who?
She's going to keep talking shit until they bounce in the second round because the Dodgers choke like they're Trevor Bauer's ex-girlfriend.
I mean, and you're right. They probably will choke. That's what they do in October. That's why the Dodgers, it's called Choketober.
You're such a good fan. You're such a good fan. At the end
of the day, like, go Dodgers. We're
so check this out. Quick stat about the Mariners. So let's fire up baseball. Let's get into baseball. Let's get into baseball. I want to talk about some shit. Mariners. I want to talk about the Mariners.
You're good to go.
Oh, okay.
We haven't been running things. They're outdated.
Okay. All right. So the Mariners in their last 50 games are 36-14.
Yeah.
The 36-14. Everybody was so excited about the Rays when their season started, and the Rays were 35-15 in the first 50 games of the season. So we can't celebrate the Rays for what they did at the start of the season when it didn't fucking matter, but ignore what the Mariners are doing right now. They are going to be one of the top teams in the playoffs this year. They are recovering very well from what happened last year.
I think
they had the starting pitching.
Really go a far distance in the postseason. I think they're going to be one of the teams that everyone really does need to look out for.
ALCS at least locked.
They had the starting pitching already. I mean, they have the best starting pitching probably in the AL, if I'm not mistaken.
And J-Rod is one of the hottest young players in baseball right now.
Well, obviously he's good looking, Tony, but let's talk about how he plays baseball. Okay. So but no, they are.
No, Brandon's right. Hot at the right time. Absolutely.
Yeah, the offense is just coming around. Eugenio Suarez, one of my favorite names in baseball, doesn't strike out every other at bat. So that's a start. I mean,
the Yankees should learn from that.
They should. I mean, I told you I played every time Giancarlo strikes out drinking game tonight, and I am hammered drunk. So if that tells you how fucking that went.
If you do that every time they played, you fucked probably every night, Dan.
I do.
If he did that every time they played, he wouldn't have a liver anymore. It would just go from his mouth and just like out the side of his body because his liver would have just completely.
Are you guys assuming I don't have cirrhosis of the liver? Because that's we know.
I
would be surprised if you haven't sold your liver on the black market. Honestly, that would be the thing that would shock me if you haven't.
Kidneys come. They draw more money.
Because being a Yankees fan is expensive, so if you can sell that liver, that at least gets you, a couple of more pieces of memorabilia.
Buy baby fetuses on the internet to eat, and then it reproduces all the rest of those cells. So that's
But here's the thing, Dan.
I'm actually 51 years old.
I'm a firm believer in this. I think that if you hold on to those Wander Franco rookie cards in a couple of years, they're going to be worth a lot. That's a great investment.
I have so many that I didn't. I literally thought, what is this?
Or damn
I would like I held on to too many of them. Like I realized that like I still have like a lot, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, these are worth nothing now. Damn it. Well, I mean, hey,
have we heard
a lot of
Wander Franco?
He's done.
So I think in MLB standpoint, he's probably, pretty safe to say Wander Franco's baseball career is over.
But has anything
the last thing
out evidence or
the last article that I saw, there may be something else that's been said since then. So I'm prefacing my statement with this. The last thing that I saw was that it was being investigated by the Dominican police. In the Dominican Republic, the age of consent is 18. You cannot consent to sex before 18 in the Dominican Republic. So if this is true, he is immediately facing criminal penalties in the Dominican Republic. Now, in the Dominican Republic, in situations like these, more often than not, according to the article that I read, it ends up being handled more in a civil fashion where the offender, in this case, Wander Franco, pays the victim money, and the family in return says we're good, and basically the case gets dropped. The issue is, according to this article, there may be more than one individual that he has had a relationship with that is under the age of consent in the Dominican Republic. And so that could complicate this entire process. In short, yeah, his career in Major League Baseball is probably done. But it does not appear, based on everything that's being said, that any of the alleged criminal activity that could have taken place happened on U.S. soil. The relationships apparently happened in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, they did.
So the U.S. laws, as far as how this would be handled, do not apply, essentially, unless any of their sexual contact happened in the U.S. It's up to the Dominican and how they prosecute.
Now, serious question here. How old is 14 years old? Because I'm pretty sure, seriously, this is a serious question. I'm pretty sure at 14, I could consent knowingly to having sexual relationships with somebody.
Okay, but think about it like this. And I get what you're saying, because at 14, especially in today's time frame, as individuals, especially even when we were 14, Erica, I know that was just 6 months ago for you, but when we were all 14, we developed, we had an understanding of what sex is and what consent is.
16 years ago, the fuck?
However,
don't tell anybody that. We're trying to rep your OnlyFans page. Shut up.
However, the the situation is when you are an individual like Wanda Franco, who has a celebrity status, the celebrity influence changes the conversation. Now, in reality, if this was a 22-year-old in the United States, this was a 22-year-old man and a 14-year-old girl, it's statutory rape.
Regardless.
Yeah, I
mean, regardless.
Regardless. Whether it was consensual. Now, interesting fact, in Arizona, if it's a statutory rape charge, both of the individuals in the relationship, because it was consensual, get charged.
Yeah, I was going to say, here's my thing, guys.
And here's the thing. And you can understand why that rule would be important, because you don't want families reporting it just because they don't, they were fine before, but all of a sudden they don't like the person. And so now they're going to complain. So
but I mean, that's a pretty valid way to go about it. Just from my thinking, because then you can't come back, 6 a year down the line, whatever, and be like, hey, you know what I mean?
Right.
So 19 and 17 technically is illegal in the Dominican Republic, right? If Wanda Franco is 19 years old and this chick is
because they don't have a Romeo and Juliet law that gives you up to 2 years of room in that. If you aren't 18, you can't consent to sex in the Dominican Republic. That's the way the law is.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
That is a hard limit in the Dominican Republic law. According to this article, I don't know how true that is. According to this article, it's a hard limit of 18.
No. Erica, here's my
I get what you're saying, and I don't think there's a moral problem with it, and I think that this is why Romeo and Juliet laws in the United States exist, because a couple of years difference. If he's 18 or 19 and she's 16, 17 years old, he was probably a senior in high school, she was a sophomore, a couple of years difference, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
In the actual Wanda Franco case, 22 and 14, that's out of line.
Absolutely.
That's fucking fucked up. I get it. Okay, guys? What I am saying is that 19 and 17 ain't that fucking weird. Okay? Like,
no. I'm not disagreeing with you.
So, that's my case. So when they turn 18 years old, that's then when they become they miraculously gain the ability to consent to sex with people over 18 years old. That's just what happens when you turn 18 years old. Because I don't even remember.
According to the Dominican Republican law,
switch that flipped in my head. It was now I can have sex with women over 19. I didn't fucking think about it. It doesn't happen like that. This shit is ridiculous sometimes.
And we both know that we were as dumb at 17 as we were at 18. It didn't change just because the age changed. We were still fucking stupid.
Nothing just clicked when I turned 18. It was I get it now.
That's
what
the Dominican Republican law. Dominican Republic law is 18. You can't consent to sex before 18. Pretty sure that's why the Catholics don't put a lot of support behind the Dominican Republic, but that's just me.
Well, they would put more support behind the Dominican Republic, right? I mean,
I'm going to see how many times I can get Erica to cover her face tonight.
Defense to that 7. What the fuck?
They should have thought about that before they invaded and cut everybody's fucking head off. They should have been like, "Hey, you guys want to be Catholics, all right? But but no sex before 18." And they were like, "Yeah, you guys got to agree to all these rules, Dominican Republic, okay?" And the people in the Dominican Republic were like, you know what? We don't want to be Catholic. And they were like, oh yeah, because we're going to cut your fucking head off if you don't. And they were like, okay, we're Catholics now. Gotcha. Sorry. I didn't realize the whole cutting your head off thing was happening. No, he's not. I sent him a message. I sent him a link. I sent him one just out of the, sometimes it's when you leave, when you leave a note for your old buddy who you think is dead at the cemetery. And you're like, hey, come back to me, man. Come back. And then this happens. And then I get this.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And then sometimes from the dead, from the depths,
oh God,
from the depths of the inside
right now.
Yes.
Oh God.
You ever get one of those hard racist boners, Tony? That's what I got right now. Don't look at me like that, Erica.
The only time I'm more erect is when Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking. That's peak for me. But
Look,
that and all dress chips. Like you have to appreciate the greatness of all dress chips.
Yeah.
The reason, legitimately, a reason I would immigrate to Canada, because it's fucking impossible to get them in Arizona. And if I'm going to move up north, I'm going to Canada because I'd rather have healthcare than Ohio.
There's two Canadian men I would be gay for, Tony. Two. All right. Number one is clearly Dr. Jordan Peterson. Okay. And number two is this guy right here. Okay.
You see, for me, it's him and Jared Kiso. Jared Kiso plays Wayne on Letterkenny. If he was like, "Hey, we're gonna do this," I'd just like, "Okay."
I would say Jim Carrey, but I don't think I can have a guy be funnier than me in a relationship.
You see, the three of us know this. Like how turned off you get when somebody's laughing during sex. Like it's just not as fun anymore. And if Jim Carrey was there, like the only thing I'd be able to think about was him in the mask, and I'd just start laughing. So I think that's the reason why I wouldn't have sex with Jim Carrey, simply because I wouldn't be able to stop laughing. And not because of his amazing penis, because I'm sure he has a very amazing penis, but because of the fact that I just wouldn't be able to stop laughing.
I bet it's perfectly average. Perfectly average size. It's like a Goldilocks dick.
But speaking of our resident Canadian, the Toronto Blue Jays still in the hunt, still looking like they're going to be a wild card team.
Go Jays.
How do you feel about the Jays, Gene?
How I feel about the Jays? I don't mind the Jays. I enjoy the Jays. And they have all the stuff to be or could be potential team, in the running in playoff season team. They always have. But there's always a hiccup. There's always that but. As long as they can get over that, I think they can put it together. And I think they could go for a run.
For me, I feel like that my thing with the Jays, and I'm glad that they are higher up in the division than the Yankees. So even though they're beating Boston, I respect the Jays because it's not the Yankees. They still have a problem with consistency. I think that's why Tampa Bay has maintained the top of the division, is because they have a hard time closing sometimes when it matters. And again, I'm saying sometimes they can get it done, but they're not getting it done. There's certain points where they're not getting it done where they should.
Yeah.
And it's not even that it's a consistent one thing. Like it's not like their offense is an issue or their defensive play is an issue. It's a rotating problem with their consistency. I think if the Jays are going to make a splash in the postseason, they need to get hot during the last 2 weeks of September. Yeah. And I'm gonna peg it like that specifically, because if they can start there, they will have great momentum going into the wild card series. Yeah, ALDS, ALCS, stuff like that. So for me, they have to develop consistency, or it's not going to work.
So Tony, what you're saying is that the Jays have a problem with consistency, while the Rays have a problem with consistency. Is that what we're trying to figure out here? Okay,
it's
good.
And that's the hard thing. Again, all the respect to the Jays and what they're doing. All the respect to the Jays and what they're doing. Whit Merrifield looks like he's a lot happier in Toronto than he was in Kansas City. He wanted to get out of Kansas City so bad he got the shot despite being against it, which I thought was fucking hilarious. Obviously you got Vlad Guerrero Jr., who's not the best first baseman, but he's got a great bat, so you take what you can get. He's like
he won a Gold Glove last year, Tony.
Do what?
Vlad Guerrero won a fucking Gold Glove last year, okay? And he deserved every bit of that Gold Glove, okay?
Yeah, and Tim Tebow has won a playoff game. It doesn't change the fact that Vlad Guerrero needs some work.
God damn it. How in the fuck? I'm still mad about that. Like, Anthony Rizzo, clearly the better defensive first baseman. And Vlad Jr. just out of left field wins a fucking Gold Glove. That dude can barely field his position. And I'm like, he dives for balls. I think that's what it was. They were just like, he can't cover enough ground, so he dives for everything because he just makes normal plays look like they're really hard. And that's why Vlad Guerrero won a first base fucking Gold Glove. It's like they were like, hey, he's trying so hard over there. I'm like, they all fucking try hard. What are you talking about? He's trying hard. He can't win a Gold Glove. He's trying hard.
I'm not going to minimize his talent behind the plate or his talent at the plate.
Yeah.
Vlad
he's a
Guerrero
fucking
is
stud
a
hitter.
special fucking hitter.
And I
But-
think that's
Clearly-
what gets him the Gold Glove. That was what the equal.
It's not supposed to get you a Gold Glove because that's supposed to be about defensive play.
Yeah,
but I think you're right.
it is
Definitely
supposed
not.
to be. But you know what? The people in the back of their mind, that's what they're thinking. It's like, ooh, you know.
But Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame, so we've seen how this voting thing works out for the Major League Baseball, and it's not, it's not the best. They're not real great at it. They don't like to get together and figure out how to actually vote for something.
And the last thing I had for baseball, they announced today Gonsolin is going for Tommy John surgery. So he is done for the year. We probably will not see him in 2024. You might see him at tail end of the season for some, AA and AAA work to get some of his rehab time in before the end of the season. But Gonsolin is out for the rest of the season, and probably next year he is getting Tommy John. Fucking Shohei!
I was gonna say,
Holy
dude, I
shit.
did. That's what I want to talk to you about. That's what I want to talk to both of you guys about. Is about how. So how does that work out as far as like? There's some shady shit going on there with the Los Angeles Angels and that whole thing. I'm conspiracying the fuck out of this, Gene. I'm conspiracying the fuck out of this because
I'm with you. No.
How they didn't want to know.
Well, no, but here's the thing. He was having issues with that elbow most of the season. They never took images. They never looked at it. How do you not? A player like Shohei Ohtani. That's what the apostrophe for is in Ohtani. It's Ohtani. That's what. How do you not get an MRI? Take a fucking X-ray.
Do you think?
And now,
here's the conspiracy part.
So what you're looking at is the potential that he has to have his second Tommy Johns in 3 years. If he needs Tommy John, that's his second Tommy John in 3 years. If that is the case, Shohei's days as a two-way player are done.
Yep.
He's a DH.
He's a DH. You might get him as a
base.
closer. You might be able to use him as a closer sometimes, but he will not be the two-way player that we've had for the last few years.
No.
Which knocks the fucking price tag off of him by how many hundreds of millions of dollars?
That I guarantee you that cost him $300 million.
Where's that knock it down to? Right about where the Los Angeles Angels can afford him? Does that knock it right down to about where they can afford him?
I think if he needs Tommy John, he's not going back to the Angels.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but doesn't give them a better chance because they know that they don't have the money to sign Shohei Ohtani?
But that's the thing is with how low the salary cap is, they could sign him for whatever he wanted. They just don't want to pay him that money. And Art Moreno did the rest of the league a fucking favor by putting him in this situation because now nobody's going to have to sign him for the $600 million deal he was going to get. It's going to be $300 to $350 at best.
Also,
I will be shocked now with this unless he doesn't need Tommy John and he's going to be pitching at some point next year. He does not get a $600. His deal does not break $350.
No.
That's how much money they cost him. And I stand by my previous statement that if he's a two-way player, he's getting a $600 million.
Gene, your thoughts?
I agree with the both of you guys. It's at that point where if he's got to get other surgery, it knocks him down as a potential like superstar player, or he's out of the show. That's just there. Let's say it's not that big of a deal, and he's not out for very long. He comes back and he can still pitch. How long? And then it's going to be, well, what do we do with you if the arm goes? His two-way play goes. Where do we put you? Do we put you as a closer? What do we do with you? So the price tag it takes off, and then that shine of him being this super awesome player goes away, and then a lot of people turn. It's that whole we'll now turn and we'll find somebody else. There's always going to be somebody coming up that's going to be you.
Yeah, because the ultimate appeal of Shohei Ohtani was that he was 2 roster spots. Yeah. He was a starting pitcher roster spot, and he was a fucking offensive DH roster spot. He was 2 guys mixed into one who was all-time great at both of them, both sides of that. And so this guy's getting $400 million deals. This guy's getting $400 million deals as one side of what he was doing, where there's almost no amount of money you can pay him that's not worth it because he is that both sides of that deal, and you get an extra roster spot. You can add somebody extra to the roster because he's two sides of it. It's that's so huge.
And that's one of the reasons why you get the $600 million value out of Shohei Ohtani. I think the only way that he goes above $400 million, it's going to involve him pitching. But I'm gonna call it back to the World Baseball Classic, and I've seen this brought up a bunch on Twitter, on baseball Twitter, in the past week or two since the Shohei injury got announced. If you can use Shohei as your day-to-day DH and use him as a closing pitcher, because he was a shutdown closer for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic. He really was. Mm-hmm. If you can use Shohei as a closer and your day-to-day DH, he gets 450. Because you're not going to get you're not going to get Kenley Jansen and his prime type numbers out of him as a closer, but you can still get 15 saves. If you've got Shohei as a closer, you can still get 10 to 15 saves a year out of him, which can make or break your record.
But you had to pay Kenley Jansen $200 million. I mean, you're going to have to pay a guy like Kenley Jansen $200 million, right? So value-wise, it's still there, even if you give him
and that's the thing. And that's why I say you get his utilizing him as a DH occasionally, and I think his left field that he plays sometimes if he's out on the field, he's not pitching.
He can definitely play first base. In 2018, he played first base a couple of games.
Oh, okay, all right. So I mean,
yeah.
But if you can utilize him as say a utility, a DH utility, and you can use him as a closer, 20
even middle relief,
or even just an inning for middle relief.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally he starts, but it's a 1 inning start on a bullpen day. You can get Shohei back to that 450 to 500.
Yeah.
But if he can't pitch anymore, Shohei doesn't get more than $300 million. Or 350 is a stretch. If a team is like, hey, we're going to give you this extra because of what you had been doing, and we want you here, like Boston, New York, the Dodgers, those teams that will put money on the table, one of those teams would give him 350 to 400 even if he can't pitch,
mm-hmm.
because of what he's done.
Yeah,
somebody's gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
And just to follow up, teams like that, the Dodgers, Boston, we'll give you that money because of what you've done, but also at the same time, it's like they're just going to look back and go, well, hey, we get you and you start getting hot, let's say as a designated hitter, well, we'll just keep you in that spot. Keep it going, roll the money out the door. There you go.
Right.
And what will you at Shohei?
I think that he's gonna get $500 million because I think that regardless, they're gonna play it in the dark as he's gonna be able to pitch again. That's how his camp's gonna play it the whole time. His camp's gonna play it like he can pitch the whole time. Because why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? That's his best asset. So why would you? He's gonna pitch again. Don't worry. He's gonna pitch again. Why wouldn't you do that?
I mean, you can, but look at what happened to Aaron Judge in the offseason from last year. I'm gonna use Aaron Judge as an example because before the offseason started, this time last year, we were talking about the deal that Aaron Judge was going to get. We were talking numbers of what he was initially looking at in San Francisco. And then the medical team took a look at him and said, so on paper,
he looked good.
You can try to say he's going to pitch again. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. But when those doctors get involved, they're going to go through Shohei with a fine-tooth fucking comb. Yeah. And that's why I think we're still going to land in the 350 range if the pitching isn't going to be there. Now, if there's going to be able to be the consistent use, as a closer, which I think would be a better way to use him as he ages, I think that the Japanese team got it right because it's that you're going to get a lot more innings and it's going to have a lot more wear and tear on that arm. But if you have a lockdown closer, you can justify giving him extra money.
Yeah.
So that's where the other 150 to 200 million that he would get would come from, because you're essentially, just like you said, you're 3 to 350 for what he can do at the plate and maybe some fielding. 150 to 200 million for what he can do as a pitcher.
Let's rewind it real quick. I want to go back to this conspiracy shit. Why were the Angels covering up or not testing his arm at this point? What's in it for them? I still can't figure this out. Like, what is in it for the Los Angeles Angels?
Keeping him on there and
to
keeping
not
him pitching.
Think about it this way.
How is that advantageous to the Angels, though?
Why would you run the risk of doing that to him, though?
It's
like what the Dolphins turned and did with Tua.
No, and you're right. But here's my thing. So if we think about the Angels organization over the last 18 months, okay, Art Moreno decides he's going to sell the team. Team's on the market. All of a sudden, team comes off the market. And they're still talking Shohei being traded while the team's saying it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We'll take offers at the deadline. They kind of shift you. And then before the deadline even gets there, they say Shohei's not getting traded. Art Moreno got offers based on, and here's my theory, Art Moreno got offers based on Shohei being there and being a franchise guy. Because the money that you can get off of Shohei versus increased ticket sales, increased TV deals, and merchandise alone helps get back some of that $6 to $7 billion realistically that you're going to be buying the Angels for. Or okay, well, no, that's probably lofty. $1 to $2 billion. $1 to $2 billion that you're buying the Angels for.
I mean, sure he's on 2, 3, yeah.
I could see this being possible.
And he knows. Art Moreno knew when he was selling a team that there was no way in hell they were going to get to keep Shohei Ohtani. I have said for a while that Shohei wasn't going to stay an Angel after the season, and I stand by it. They have known. Now, if you don't trade Shohei at the deadline, then if he stays on the current track that he's on, you look like a fool for losing Shohei and getting nothing in return. But if you know that something's not right with that arm, you don't trade him because he won't pass a physical that he's going to get to confirm the trade.
But here's
that's
my
interesting.
thing.
That's what I'm asking. Why don't you get back?
They're still physicals
when he's at the highest. When he's at the highest level.
Because
that's my whole thing.
He's not going to. Because if that elbow's been bad for a while, he's not passing that physical.
That makes sense.
Well, and here's my thing that I want to go back to that Dan was talking about. Why would they have not potentially done imaging and made sure that he was 110% to avoid the potential of not being able to make the full amount if you did sell the Angels and Shohei was involved in that deal?
Because Art Moreno knew going into this season there was no way, because even if you trade Shohei, let's talk about the Shohei trade scenario for a second. If you're trading Shohei is the second player of his type, the last one being 100 years ago. When you're trading players, you're looking at values and metrics to come up with a number value for a player, and then you build a package that goes in return for that number value. Because of all of the unknowns with his type of player, what you're going to get out of him for the next 5 years, if he's going to be willing to sign a long-term deal after you trade for him, and most teams aren't going to want to, let you, especially for a team that has a hope that they might be able to re-sign him in the offseason. They're not going to let you talk to him before they finalize a trade to see if you can negotiate out a deal or at least get the framework in place, because they don't want anybody else to sign him.
I mean,
so they knew something wasn't right. They didn't need the imaging to know something was off with Shohei's arm. The medical trainers probably told them that they could tell that there was issues.
Apparently, you could have watched the Angels for his last 5 or 6 starts and known that there wasn't something right with him.
Yeah.
He lost a lot of velo. It was an issue where they knew that there was something probably not right with him.
And that's the thing is I think the reason was that they knew what was going. They had an inkling of some of the stuff that was going on, and so they knew in a physical involved for a trade that stuff's going to come out. And they don't want it to come out until it actually shits the bed. Now there's so many unknowns. You're not going to be critical of the Angels organization. You're not going to, on paper, most people aren't going to be as critical of the Angels organization as someone, as if Shohei is at the top of his form leaves the Angels, signs with, as an example, the Yankees, the Sox, the Dodgers, a big team that gives him a $600 million deal, and all you got back for him was a couple of picks, or maybe a couple of picks and a couple of prospects, because it's like I said, it's so impossible to actually nail down that number trade value for Shohei, so you can build a package that meets that value. That there's no way they could have gotten what he was worth in top form in a trade.
I'm just trying to beat down Erica's fucking like upstanding view of like MLB management, and that they're all about like the fucking, well, why didn't they do the imaging for the player? It's because it's for him. And I'm like,
yeah, and
no,
why did the MLB
care about the people, Erica? It's all about the money.
And I understand that. But for me, from that like standpoint, like I don't see it that way. Like, because to me,
right,
these are still people and human beings.
Yes, Erica, we all feel that way, but you're not running $1 billion organization. Like, that's why none of us are running $1 billion organization.
To sports team owners, I would say Ryan Reynolds and a couple of others are better than that.
He's like a 3D printer.
They are a 3D
printer.
Okay.
And that they are, it is a commodity. And so, like, let's think of it like this. We're really going to think that MLB would be like this. The MLB, as a league and ownership, threw all of the steroid players under the bus, despite the fact that they were allowing the steroid use to happen. They were allowing the steroid use to happen, but once they actually saved baseball after the strike in '95, then they went ahead and let all of the players get thrown under the bus.
Okay.
Or how when the same league that when the sign stealing scandal came out, they let the Astros take the entire brunt of that attention, despite the fact that in the investigation they found out that every fucking team for that year and the 2 years prior and maybe a year or two after that was stealing fucking signs.
And I won't disagree with any of that, but here's my thing, and here's where like my logic goes with this. Dan, just shut up and listen for a second, please.
It's gonna be hard.
I know, because I'm a Dodgers fan. But anyways.
And a woman.
And an OU fan. So this doesn't really help me with you.
But it's even fucking worse.
But at the end of the day, yes, this is multi-millions of dollars. And there is all this shit that goes into it. But if you're wanting to utilize and make the most out of your money, why wouldn't you do everything you could to ensure your players are tip-top 110 fucking percent to continue getting you that revenue, money, income, sales, everything like
because that? Because
Art Moreno's a fucking idiot.
Okay, well, because sometimes they aren't tip-top, Erica. Sometimes they aren't. Sometimes those players aren't. And whatever way they can play it so that they make the most money out of the situation is the way that they're going to play it, no matter what.
I won't disagree. Like, I understand, because when you're making that kind of money and you're obviously smart enough to know how to play the fucking games and shit like that. So I get it. Like, I understand. But, like, from where I'm sitting, I don't know. I would just be concerned about, like, my players at the same time to ensure that I'm still making that revenue and I'm continuing to make that same revenue and utilize and still even potentially get more. Because if you lose Shohei, do you think fucking Angels fans are still going to be filling and going to the games? No, they're not. But I think Shohei goes back.
Did you play the horses? Did you play the horses ever, Erica? You ever play the horses? You ever go to the track, play the horses? That's about how much Art Moreno cares about Shohei Ohtani. It's one of them horses.
And I think that I was about to say, I think that part of this is an organizational issue. I think that it's a problem with the Angels organization. You look at the scandal that they had with the Stickum stuff, and the fact that they were basically selling Stickum to most of the league. And there's the fact that they had the Tyler Skaggs situation. The Angels organization is absolutely horrible to their players and the environment that they have in that locker room. Because as much as I talk shit about the Yankees, we can all sit here, or the Dodgers, or Boston, or any of those top tier teams. We can all sit there and talk shit on each other all we want. But we know that the way that our organizations run things, if our top player has a problem, they're going to sit his ass down.
Whether Kershaw
The Yankees aren't
wants
going to let
call that
Shohei suffer with
or not, they're gonna
with
pull
arm
Kershaw
issues. They're
out.
gonna get him checked out. Boston's not going to let that happen. The Dodgers aren't going to let that happen. They don't play that fucking game. Art Moreno and the Angels organization is fucking horrible, and I people need to realize that. It's a decent chunk of this is going to come back to the fact that Art Moreno and the Angels organizational leadership are fucking horrible.
I mean, Tony, I think you made the comment the other day, actually, in our chat, that the Angels are the Dolphins of the MLB. Like,
and the Chargers. I think the Chargers was the one that I said, because I said is the Chargers medical staff working working with for the Angels in the offseason.
That's yeah.
Tyrod Taylor felt that comment in his side, but the Angels organization is horrible, and until Art Moreno sells to a competent ownership, you're going to continue to see problems like this. You're going to continue to see talent get wasted, like Mike Trout, who will be one of really the supreme talent in LA once Shohei leaves after the season. Mike Trout is like they are the Detroit Tigers when the Detroit Tigers weren't being run right. Now they're the Lions, Detroit Lions, when they weren't being run right, because you get a couple of pieces of talent and you wrap dog shit around it and you pretend that it's a good product. Detroit did that to Calvin Johnson. They did that to fucking Barry Sanders. They did that to Matt Stafford. That's their fucking move, or that was their move historically. They're not doing it so much anymore because of
Dan Campbell.
Because Dan Campbell doesn't put up with that bullshit.
Yeah.
But
their management's still exactly as shitty as it was before. Dan Campbell just won't fucking stand for it, so they're not gonna do it anymore.
And you can't think that Dan Campbell's not gonna talk.
That's why Dan Campbell's such a fucking stud, is because we know that Dan Campbell's not only coaching an NFL team and making an NFL team better, as he is shunning off the shittiness of his ownership at the same time.
Dan Campbell has completely changed the culture in Detroit football.
Yes, that's why everybody loves Dan Campbell. It's not about his positive. It's not like about Hard Knocks and shit. It's about fucking. Dan Campbell's fucking back there just shunning off the shittiness of his ownership by just going, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm trying to win around here. Like, get the fuck away from me. I'm trying to win around here." Like, that's what Dan Campbell's doing right now.
And unless the Angels either sell or get the baseball version of Dan Campbell, which I don't know who that would be, into that locker room, you're going to continue to see a possible Craig Counsell. You're going to continue to see the product come out of LA that we're getting, and that is substandard baseball. That should not be allowed. Like, it's
Tony. Do you feel like the Art Moreno's high school yearbook in 1947? His quote was, "All good things must eventually be burnt to the ground for the insurance money." I feel like that was Art Moreno's quote in his 1947 high school yearbook.
I think his 1947 high school yearbook quote was, "I hope they don't let black people into this school."
Yeah, he was like, I don't even want to. I can't even say that out loud.
No.
Yeah, that Art Moreno's height. Oh, yeah. I didn't want to say it. But
it's disappointing.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, it's disappointing that because we think as commoners, when we think about how we would run an organization, we think about because we see, especially that's one of the things that Dan and I are very passionate about when we used to do Sports Report After Dark. Athletes are people too. We see that. We believe it every day. It's one of the reasons why we all get along and work so well together as a group on both this and Sportsaholic Daily, which if you haven't checked out Sportsaholic Daily on Facebook, definitely check it out. Shameless plug. But we see athletes as people too. When you are the owner of a sports organization, more often than not, you see athletes as a commodity, a product, a physical thing. They are still a noun, but it's a thing, not a person. They believe that for any position, for any player, there are two guys that are ready to step up and take their position and at least provide sufficient results. Because obviously you have your elite players, there's not like Shane Michelle could step in right now for Patrick Mahomes and do okay, but he's not going to do what Patrick Mahomes has done.
No,
And
I'll give you an example right there, Tony. How about this? If you're looking at Tom Brady as a pre-draft prospect, and you're looking at Jamarcus Russell as a pre-draft prospect, I'm taking Jamarcus Russell. If I don't know anything about those two players other than their measurables and what they did at a combine, and I've never met either one of them, I am taking Jamarcus Russell 1,000 times out of 1,000 times in the NFL draft. And guess what I would be? Fucking wrong. Do you know why? Because of Tom Brady's fucking mental makeup and the difference between that and Jamarcus Russell's and everybody else's mental makeup. That is how important it is. There is no...
But here's, and you're right. And I think that we all, as avid sports fans, we know this. But I think that one of the things is, and this is something that I realized, that because of the fact that you can't quantify an intangible, like what you get, that elite one of a kind intangible that you get from. Yeah, you can't quantify into a number that for to account for guys like Patrick Mahomes, who, even though he went early, was not a very highly touted draft prospect. A lot of mock drafts had Patrick Mahomes going in the third round.
In the third fucking round.
Think about that for a second.
The guy that would be the number one pick in every NFL draft in the history of NFL drafts. These fucking idiots were like, he's a second rounder.
And so when you look at, this, sports organizations, baseball does this, but sports and you can see the Moneyball-esqueness in this, if you will. But sports organizations, they look at each player with things that they can measure, because there are certain things that they can track, that they can measure, that can equate to a certain number of expected wins. Certain number of expected wins is going to be, if you can get to where you're expecting 85 wins, you have a chance at least being a wild card team. And when team ownership says, well, we fell short of expectations, well, that's because they were expecting 80 wins and they got 78. So there is it's when something is not quantifiable like that, with the type of player that Shohei Ohtani is, you can't. It's hard to quantify Shohei Ohtani, even when you break him down into two separate players. The pitcher Shohei and the everything else Shohei. We'll call it a utility Shohei, if you will. It's so hard to quantify one person having all of those measurables, because not only is it hard to quantify, but it's hard to compete. But part of these numbers, how they come up with them, is comparing them to other individuals with their measurables, as far as size, as far as where what school they went to, the program, and all of these different things that they use to assign values to decide how they can value this player. With Shohei Ohtani, you can't quantify that. And Art Moreno is an absolutely horrible owner that it wastes talent consistently. And I think it is a fucking shame that we are going to lose the greatness of Shohei Ohtani sooner than we should have, because the Angels organization did not treat him as a person. They treated him as a commodity.
Yeah. I think it's not only with the Shohei, I think that it's with Mike Trout. Like, we're going to get wasted with
the Angels as a whole have a problem in the organization with not seeing their athletes as people.
Yeah, what have we got? Like, dude, Shohei, Mike Trout is already hands down one of the greatest players that's ever played Major League Baseball. If you look at him statistically and through the sabermetrics and everything, this dude is already a Hall of Famer. Okay, he's like 33. He's my age. Okay, he's already one of the greats. There's no doubt about that. And his career has been absolutely wasted by the Angels organization, because they're looking at what he is like coming out to be, almost like they're looking at like what he is like being, as far as how much money do we make off of him? We got a couple of fucking Mike Trout jerseys we wanted to sell. Got to get them white ones in there. Got to get them white Mike Trout jerseys in there. just to sell them. That's rough, bro. That's rough art. That's rough art. You were rough art. Like, come on, man.
And I think that's really the issue is, when and like the company that I work for my day job as an insurance agent, they treat us like human beings, and it's why it's one of the best places I've ever worked. I hate my job. Legitimately, I hate my job, and I say it every day before I start my shift. But because of the fact that it's hard to find a company that treats employees like people, I haven't changed jobs. Am I looking for another company that will be something more what I want to do, enjoying myself and treats their people like humans? Yes. But I will stick with the company that treats me like a human until I find a job that I enjoy with a company that treats me like a human. And
in this society now, Tony, do you think that it's fucked up that we can't just go out and like farm some land and like feed our families with like land and like?
Oh, you can if you have enough money to start it. And I think, and that's the thing is,
that's what I'm saying.
Everything has become so money locked that people get stuck, and then other people ask why the suicide rate is so high among the lower class and the lower middle class, because they're fucking stuck.
Because we're getting beat down. Like it's like it's a beating, and like it
is.
We feel, and that's where like what's the number one cause of suicide, Tony? Like really, as a person, is hopelessness, right? Like people people feel like there's no hope for like going on. That's really like the number one reason for suicide would be the fact that you feel like you have no hope for anything, right? I mean,
yeah.
So like that's where it comes from. Like if you want to know where fucking financial hopelessness comes from, holy shit, let's look no further than what's going on in the United States right now. Right?
You're 100% correct too. And and that's Art Moreno is evidence of the system that we've been in. And hopefully that you get ownership groups like the guys that just bought the Redskins. Sorry, the Commanders. The Redskins. Josh Harrison, Magic Johnson.
I'm on John Ambrose's train on this. I'm calling them the fucking Redskins. I'm calling.
And that's the thing is, and I wonder how Guardians fans feel that nobody. Yeah, shout out John. I love that like nobody's going back to like, okay, can we change the Guardians name back too? Nope, we want the Redskins back. The Guardians name we're good with because nobody gives a fuck about Cleveland, but we want the Redskins back. I think that's great.
Redskins are fucking awesome. Plus, awesome. How awesome was their fucking like? Also, the Indians fucking the mascot and everything, like their whole thing that they had going was cool too. But like the Redskins was so fucking cool. Like I liked the Redskins whole like but got the red and the yellow and the whole.
The Redskins organization worked with local tribes to dictate that whole vibe and what they were doing, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Chiefs, why there's that quiet word for the Chiefs to change their name, but the
fuck.
It's I mean it's not going to happen, but it's how the organization handles things and what the Redskins organization was doing. Working with local tribes, despite how shitty Dan Snyder was.
I was going to say, shout out Dan Snyder just for a second. Can I just for a second? Can I just say, Dan Snyder, just for a second, buddy, you were on the right track with something. Outside of that,
the one thing. The one thing.
You fucked up bad, bro. But like, you know what? I just want to sit here on this show, and can we just give Dan Snyder some credit? He's just going to get shit on for everything else ever.
I have one question I'm going to ask you about basketball because you and I haven't got a chance to talk about this. So we'll just do this now because, whatever. Do you think that Bronny's congenital heart condition is going to impact whether or not LeBron stays in basketball?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely. I mean, yeah. I think the fact that Bryce James is fucking 6'8" now. Anybody notice that? Yeah, Bryce is 6'8" now. He's looking like he's might be just as good. He wears the goggles and shit, like fucking Wild Thing. Like Bryce is out there looking like fucking Charlie Sheen, like Black Charlie Sheen out there on the fucking court. No, I think it definitely will. I think that he was looking forward to Bronny Jr. a lot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was kind of like a thing. And Bronny Jr.'s got to be done, right?
I think ultimately it's going to depend on if the congenital heart defect that he has can be repaired. Because, I mean, he had the cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
In what was that, June, July? Somewhere in it, like a month or two ago, he had cardiac arrest while he was in the lab, so to speak, like his dad would say. And he was revived, he was okay. And I saw the article the other day that they said they found that there's a congenital heart defect. Yeah. If that can be repaired, he can play, and he can be cleared to safely play. I don't think anything changes. But if he gets told that it's not safe for him to play again, does LeBron come back for another season, knowing that Bronny James is not going to be on the other side of that season?
Tony, let's go ahead and concede, because I think it's safe to concede at this point, that Bronny Jr. is fucking done playing basketball, dude. His heart stopped during a fucking practice, all right? They're gonna say it's safer that motherfucker never play basketball again, and I'm completely fine with it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that sucks for him.
But DeMar Hamlin was in a full fucking game and dropped dead on that field. And
DeMar Hamlin's is because of a fucking actual impact, though. DeMar Hamlin's is because of an impact.
Yeah, that's not a defect. Okay, you're right. Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Like, DeMar Hamlin's is never gonna, right? DeMar Hamlin's isn't gonna happen again. Like, the chances of DeMar Hamlin's happening again is in the millions. Well,
but the chances of it happening in the first time were in the millions too.
Right.
Because to cause what happened with DeMar Hamlin, for that to happen, it has to be an exact chain of events. Whereas with Bronny James, if it's a congenital heart defect that can't, whether it can be repaired or not, I'm not a doctor, I don't know. But that to me screams that there would be a much higher risk of that happening again. And no disrespect to Bronny James and his dream to play basketball like his dad, but
he'll be okay.
He'll be okay. But his, the league is
about the safety issues with that. The
right.
league is going to be concerned about.
There we go. The league is going to be concerned about safety issues with that. So I think it all depends on what that comes out. But I can understand being, he's probably done, but it depends on if what happened, because there are some congenital heart defects. Once they know what it is, they can fix it and you're fine. And so if that's the case, maybe it takes him an extra year to get to the NBA, depending on how long his recovery is from whatever that treatment is. But I'm not sure yet, but so if he's told he can't play.
Yeah.
Does LeBron do a victory tour or does he walk away?
What do you mean? Like, is he going to play next season?
So let's say tomorrow morning they're talking to doctors. Doctor says, "Look, Brian, you're done. This can't happen."
They already know that.
But according to all public articles, that's not where they're at. He could still make a full recovery. But let's say tomorrow morning they legitimately find out Bronny James will not play basketball again. Does LeBron play one more year and do a victory tour, a final lap to let everybody pay respect? Or does he just say, okay, I'm not coming back?
LeBron James is going to play until he is fucking 46 years old, be out there like Katino Mobley with a gray fucking beard, posting dudes up when he's 46, bro. No matter what. He's going to surpass fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar by fucking 4,000 or 5,000 points, be up there at about 43 grand, just up there fucking, he'll be 46, fucking averaging 18 and a half, fucking 7 rebounds, 6 assists, like it's his fucking job, no matter what. Let's not let Bronny James Jr. into this conversation, because Bronny James Jr. wasn't in this conversation until about 4 or 5 years ago. And before that, LeBron James already wanted to bury Michael Jordan. As being, he wanted to be the greatest of all time and wanted to bury him. That doesn't, his son's condition, whether it's going to let him play or not, doesn't matter to LeBron James. I don't think it does. He wanted to play with him. That was like a perfect setup. But whether or not it matters to the rest of LeBron James's career, no, it doesn't at all. I think he's going to play until he's 46.
I'm gonna have to go, but I want to wrap up with one question. Okay, what were your thoughts on the Trey Lance trade?
What a weird situation was my thoughts on the Trey Lance. Like, what a weird thing. A guy from fucking South Dakota, was it North Dakota State? South Dakota State, whatever the fuck.
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State. Okay, that's not too far away from me. I know where that fucking motherfucker lives. But up there and just Trey Lance is the weirdest thing of all time, man, because he's got the talent, but it seems like at this point, if nobody's going to give him a shot, he's not ever going to get a shot. Does that make sense? Like, he's just not ever going to, I mean.
My thing is I don't know why the Cowboys offered up a fourth rounder for a guy that was going to get cut.
You think Trey Lance is going to get cut? I think Trey Lance is
because they had already said that Sam Darnold was going to be QB2. And obviously Brock Purdy's starting.
The Niners said.
The Niners said that. So they had already said basically that he was going to go. Why do you give a fourth round pick for a guy that you would have cut?
Think about
for a guy that they would have cut and you could have gotten for free.
Tony, how close is Dak Prescott to being Trey Lance player-wise? Have you seen much film? They're exactly the same goddamn player. They're literally the same fucking player.
There are some similarities, but Trey Lance isn't ready to get back on the field. And so if Dak falls, if Dak gets injured again, Cooper Rush gets the start because Cooper Rush went 5-1 last year, starting in place of an injured Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush is getting that ball. I guarantee you, Mike McCarthy is handing that ball to Cooper Rush.
Are you going to get a fourth next year if Dallas goes into the draft, or this year? Are they going to get a fourth rounder who's as good as Trey Lance? Trey Lance is a first round pick. They going to get a third string quarterback who's as good as Trey Lance for a fourth round pick, for that fourth round pick next year?
But no. Here's the thing. I'm saying just off of what I've seen off of Trey Lance, because truth be told, there hasn't been a lot on Trey Lance. I don't think Trey Lance was a first round pick. San Francisco should not have plunged for Trey Lance.
No. Trey Lance is a third round pick.
And that's the thing. And so now, with the fact that he's had all the injury issues and the time off, and when you take him to Dallas, you're looking at 1 to 2 years before he's ready at a minimum. He's going to be your scout team quarterback this year at best. How do you
justify that fourth round?
By saying that you couldn't get a better third round pick? Like, you couldn't get a better quarterback in the fourth round than Trey Lance.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind the pickup and him getting a shot. I just don't know that he was. I don't know that I would have shelled up a fourth round for him. But
I would have. All right, buddy. Hey, it's going Dick at Night now. Full Dick at Night node.
It is good to do this again. I miss our talks. I'll hit you up later.
Oh yeah, man. All right, buddy.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right, we're going full Dick at Night mode. This was sort of a joke in the first place, but I guess this is what's happened. Joe Stevens, go Hawks. I just get a random go Hawks from 9:46 p.m. Joe, thank you for watching, buddy. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about with the whole Go Hawks thing. Is it a Jayhawk, Seahawk, Chicken Hawk, something like that? Anyway, that was at 9:46, so I don't remember what we were talking about at 9:46. This is that would be 30 minutes ago. So, Joe, thank you for watching, man. I don't really know what we're talking about with the Go Hawks thing. So, outside of that, I guess I'm gonna roll out of here too. Dick at Night mode not enabled. We'll do a whole separate thing for that. So if you guys want to comment, get on here, talk about some shit, we could talk about that shit. No. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. The sports report. For the sports report, Tony, thank you for coming on tonight, buddy. Gene, showing up like that dude praying at the fucking cemetery for his buddy to show up, pouring some liquor on that fucking grave. You know what I'm saying? Gene, thanks for showing up, man. All the rest of you guys, fuck you. Anyway, have a good night. And sports report,